Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Coco Tate, Program Officer at the Middle East Institute. Earlier this year, MEI, in partnership with Southern Methodist University and Howard University, launched a new program, the International Youth Summit. Our goal was to bring together university students from the Middle East with a group of American students and MEI interns to discuss social, political, and cultural topics that are of broad regional and global interest. In our first session this past spring, the students focused on human rights, with topics ranging from refugee and women's rights to criminal justice and prison reform. Breaking into subgroups, the students met on a monthly basis to discuss these issues, and they have worked hard on final projects reflecting on their discussions. Today, I am pleased to welcome one of our participants who examined gender equality and women's rights in the Middle East, drawing upon research and her own studies and experiences. Joining conversation with Leen Lahlouh is Dalal Yassine. Dalal is a non-resident scholar at MEI and the executive director of Middle East Voices. She is a lawyer and advocate for gender and human rights for Palestinian refugees in Lebanon. I will now hand things over to Dalal, who will introduce Leen and will be moderating today to start off the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Coco. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Youth Summit presentation event today. My name is Dalal Yassine. I'm a non-resident scholar at the Middle East Institute, and I'm happy to moderate the event today. Today, Leen Lahlouh, one of the summit students who took part in Women's Right Group project, will present here, and her group's final project on women's right and gender inequality. Leen is a fourth-year business administration student at the American University of Madaba in Jordan. Leen speaks 4 languages fluently. She works with her university as a brand ambassador and acts in sketches. Aside from that, Leen has always been interested in human rights, specifically gender equality, because of seeing the societal differences between gender in the Middle East and how much it affects girls and women's life and their freedom of choice. She calls and advocates for justice and equal opportunities, which were resisted by some segments of Jordanian society. In this summit, Leen found a way to express what she has in mind and deliver an important message about this topic. Leen will take 30 minutes for the presentation, 25 to 30 minutes for the presentation. Then we will take audience questions throughout the Q&A function on Zoom. So before Leen starts, I would like to remind everyone to submit any questions you have by using Zoom's Q&A feature, which is located at the bottom of your screen. Leen, welcome. The floor is yours. تفضلي.
Thank you. Okay, so good morning and good evening to everyone here. I'm Leen Lahlouh. I'm not going to do the same introduction that you did, so you guys know me now. I'm a 4th-year business administration student, and today I'll be taking you through my and my group's ideas about this topic of gender equality. I hope you don't get bored because I'm talkative and I would love to express what I have in mind and what my and my group's ideas are. Starting off, I'll be sharing a video that we did among some people around us. It's basically questions about gender equality. We asked to them and they answered. Some of them prefer to stay anonymous, and it's a various group age, and I hope you enjoy. I don't know how to actually. Okay, have I stopped sharing? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So starting off, I'd like to tell you that we're working on a website, me and my group, in which we will be, clarifying our ideas regarding this video and regarding the whole topic. Starting off, I'll be passing through the points that I mentioned in my document in order. So starting off, I'm going to clarify the definition of equality according to us, to my group. First of all, according to science, let me read this for you. Equality is the state of being equal, especially in status, rights, and opportunities. I was about to say that we disagree with this, but after reading it, I stuck to the word opportunities. We actually call for equal opportunities, not only gender equality. Equal opportunities stems in our own ideas, stems from the value of a human. We need to equalize their values before equalizing their genders. We don't have to link their genders to their value. We don't have to link the value of this creature, this human thing, to its gender, because before being a woman or a man, a female or a male, we already are human beings. So we call for equalizing the value more than equalizing the gender itself. We call for freedom of choice instead of the word equality. We call for justice instead of equality. We want to be rewarded based on what we give and present to this society and world, not based on what we are actually without anything. Some females are born into a world in which they are judged based on nothing, based on literally nothing, based on doing nothing, based on only that they are women. If you guys had an attention on the video, that we focused on the section of communication and value and the way you see gender equality. So this is I know this is very in the very beginning, but this is the stem of our ideas. Again, justice, not only equality, equity more than equality. The second point points the idea of that government reflects an image that isn't real about what's happening actually in homes. What do I mean by that? I mean governments represent the idea that the country wants to present about what's happening inside houses in that country, but it is not true. I know the US, for example, is one of the most free and open-minded places, giving equality to people, giving equality, freedom, equity, justice, etc. But I know that there are so many people in the US who are not being treated equally to men, and no fairness in this treat of them. So it's governments don't actually know what happens inside houses. In our Middle East, there are so many stubborn people. There are so many stubborn fathers, parents, families, traditions, etc., which we as girls are judged by. And I'm not talking personally. I saw so many other cases that girls are judged upon something that they didn't choose, which is their gender, basically. The third point is about physical efforts. Why did we put that point on the video? Because I think that we as women know that we cannot do certain things. We do know our physical abilities, and we do know that we cannot be compared to men in certain things. We do know that they have more power. We do know that we are emotional and they are rational, which is not a mistake and which is not wrong. It's only two different systems working in this world. But upon knowing this, we just want to be given the chance to choose not to do something that we know that we cannot do. I'll be mentioning this in a following point, which is basically about resisting the forbidden, or resisting something I know that I cannot do. So basically, the idea is about that I know that I cannot work in construction or infrastructure or etc. But women call for this, to have the option to say no to not doing something that she knows that she won't be able to do. So it's more about the freedom of choice more than the word itself, equality. It's about having the choice to do a thing or not to. For example, if you noticed in the video, there was a picture of the super mom, which is working and doing her children's stuff in her kitchen and etc. I know men can do this, and there is a super dad and there is a superman, but the difference is that men are given the chance to say, yes, I want to do this, or no. So it's all about being given the chance to say yes or no to a thing, starting from decisions, small basic life choices, such as loving a color or loving a certain food. Sometimes girls are not allowed to love a certain group of people, only for the idea that her family or her, traditions or culture don't agree on her having thoughts about it, which is, I'm sorry to say this, which is sick. We girls need to be given more space to think. Why do we call for we girls? Because men are not like this. I know there are specific cases of families who force both genders to think in a specific way, but generally speaking, females are suffering from this. Again, starting from basic life decisions into huge issues of society, such as empowerment of women or employment, or increasing women presence in society and in politics, and etc. And judging actually her upon being emotional, which leads us to the fourth point, which is linking women with weaknesses. Why do we link weaknesses to women? Is it about the physical weaknesses? Is it about the mental weaknesses? How do we decide that this woman is weak? Why do we link weaknesses to women? I haven't heard before about the case of linking weaknesses with the men. Maybe there might be a case of, I don't know about it, but it's not common as linking weaknesses with women. Again, this stems from the idea of equalizing the value of both genders. When we equalize the value of a human with another human, we don't link weakness to each of them. An example is when I heard a lot of cases, and one of the cases was about when a brother jokes with his sister. The joke is always about, about this topic is always about that he can do something that she can't, not speaking of the physical ability, speaking of certain life choices, going out, coming in, doing a work, studying abroad, so many things that are basic life choices. Basic life should be a basic life for everyone, not only for males or for females. We don't call for empowering females and taking the power from males. Of course, no. The following point speaks about the wrong interpretation of religion. Of course, I respect every religion out there, mine and everybody's religion. Regarding whatever the religion is, in Islam, there is a quote in the Quran, which it's not, I didn't memorize it, but it says the meaning is that men are ordered to turn a blind eye when they see a woman. Meaning, when he sees a beautiful woman, he has to look in there and then turn his eyes to respect her and respect himself. While now with the interpretation of this is, that's true until she wears something open and attractive, then no, I have to look, and this, I have the right. This example is to shed the light on the fact of that women are not allowed to speak up about the meaning of this quote. They are not allowed to defend that this what God said isn't interpreted this way. It's interpreted in another way, and we can take this and put it on every other example in life. it's unfair to think this way. If it was their place, if males were in the place of women, in the place of females, it won't be okay for them. Not linking weaknesses, I'm talking about any situation that they can be instead of a woman, choosing between two majors that the family forces their daughter to, choosing to study abroad or no, or not being able to even think about this. You know, sometimes I had the opportunity to go study abroad, but one of my friends, when I asked her about what do you think, would you come, would you like to come, she said that I didn't even have the courage to think about this. Why don't we have the courage to do so? Why our parents might be our family? I'm not putting the blame on parents. It's a society, it's a culture, it's traditions. We blame things that people ahead of time created, and you know, so many times people are not convinced, but it's just for the idea, only for the idea of implementing what's been being implemented for so long. Another point is the communication. You know, I want to shed the light on this, which is very important, that communication isn't always good. Sometimes this is from my experience with so many people. I've heard stories about when they communicated to clarify their ideas with their family, their society, so many problems happened. Females are not even allowed to express that we have the thought of point X or point V or whatever. This is a big problem. We should be ahead of time. We should have, you know, crossed and overcame this point of having the freedom to tell an opinion, you know, not only to ask for something, which is the huge or bigger problem. We don't know what's the reaction of the family would be. And sometimes because of the fear of this reaction, we don't even ask for something, or we don't even have the courage to express, which is not okay. I call for it, and everybody in my group call for it, and our families call for it. I'm talking about so many stories that I've seen of my friends, of so many internet cases that we all read and heard about. Sometimes when the thoughts of children are different from their parents and families and societies, thoughts, only thoughts, there's no actions, there's no hidden, you know, plans. Sometimes thoughts cause death, and sometimes thoughts cause you know, parents giving up their children, and it's not in my country. I've heard cases outside, but this is dangerous. This is a huge matter of thinking that needs to be shed the light on. The next point is being judged according to social manners. What does this mean? It evolves around the fear of shame, which is basically that we human beings have superiority complex sometimes. Have superiority complex. There's always, for women, the fear of shame if we want to express. So if we already passed the previous stage of expressing that we have a certain thought, we sometimes, when we want to express it or implement it in our lives, are being judged, and there is shame. And how does she do that? And how does she think this way? And oh my God, was she raised even in a good house? Are their parents healthy? Is her thinking healthy? So we always call for not judging each other, but when it comes to female, we judge them based on what they think, wear, do, want, work, study, etc. I know there are men who face these same issues, but our topic today is about men, so we're calling for women freedom of choice and freedom of options, you know, having the options. The following point is the resistance. This is a very important point, which we didn't mention when we were in the summit, in the sessions. But when I thought about it, you know, we have a saying in Arabic which says, every forbidden is wanted, which is, I say it in Arabic, كل ممنوع مرغوب. which basically applies in our case in the terms of when something is not available for me as a human, it's a human nature. When something is not available, I will have the will to want it. So sometimes some rights are things that women aren't interested in. But when all the time we're being taught that you cannot, we reach a stage or a level of no, we want, we can, we. So sometimes it stems from the idea of resisting what's happening around me. So I will break the let's say the walls of this forbidden thing. That's it for this idea. It's again human nature. And for the last idea, it's about what women want. Actually, what do we want? We want value equality. We want society. Let me not say equality. We want value justice, because if people are not aware about justice, justice is basically giving each person a reward upon what he gave or what he did. So as one of the girls in the video said, we should be judged as what we present, as our skills, not upon our genders, which is important. You know, if we were in the world of the internet and there's no cameras and there's no voices, we only communicate by chatting, there will be no females and males. There will be people who are judged upon their opinions, upon their what they write, upon what they if there was a voice changing something that we communicate with through, there would be no judgment. So why do we judge upon a gender? I know a man may be able to do so much more than a woman can, but a woman can also do so much more than a man can. So it's not about the gender as much as it's about the human itself. What was his society, his culture, his people, his family, he himself, because in one family, in one house, I'm different from my brother and my sister and my mom. We are different. I might have these open ideas about women rights and women freedom, and while someone who controls me might have another thoughts. So what's the benefit of my thoughts if I don't have the freedom to implement such a thing in my life? As at the end, it's my life as a woman. It's our lives. I'm so thankful that I am in a good situation, but there are so many girls who are not. There are so many women who are not. There are so many women who have passed their ages living in unfairness and injustice and not wanting to call for justice. And when we ask them now, they say that we're not taught to ask for something that we want, which is a huge problem. Why are we teaching men to do so and women not to? That's a big thing. We do unequalize the value through, for example, when it is since ages, you know, when we want to have a baby, some people think about that they want a boy as a first baby. Why? Does he have a superpower that a woman doesn't? Does he I don't know, maybe some people have sisters or mothers, or the female society around him is amazing and he understands what I'm talking about, but there are so many people who don't. So many people who in my country and in so many other countries who think and some who think that it's okay for women to do whatever they want, but when it comes to practice, it's not. I know so many people who call for freedom and justice and equality and etc. But when it comes to practice, and when his daughter wants to do something, or his wife, mother, work, or appear in a certain way in front of the society, it's a big no for him, or for the family or traditions, which is again a big problem. Also, a while ago, I was in an interview about judging females and males driving. It was something fun. It was two people judging, a female and a male. So questions were revolving about who creates more traffic, who does more accidents, who. So my answers were both may cause traffic, both may drive slow, both may be safe while driving, both may cause accidents, etc. Both may not pay attention to things, because after all, we both are humans. While the other mate, who is a male, was completely the opposite and answered about all the questions that females create. 1, 2, 3. Why are we linking problems and troubles with women? Why are we doing this? Would it be nice if we switch the situation? If they were linked to something bad, would it be nice? It wouldn't be nice for us, as we are emotional and we are not okay with this. Being rational doesn't mean as men are more rational. Being rational doesn't mean to underestimate the other part of the word, which is emotions. And why do we judge a woman as emotional? Why can't she be both? Why can't a man be both, can be rational and emotional? These are two systems that should be in a human. In my opinion and in my group's opinion, we should not separate the two words. Instead, we call for equality. And that's it. I talked a lot.
Thank you, Leen, for the wonderful presentation and your thoughts about this topic. Before we take questions from the audience, I have a few follow-up questions for you. Leen, what do you think men's role or perceptions are about gender equality in Jordan?
I think in Jordan, well, first off, we cannot affect the
we lost Leen. I think, yeah. Leen, can you hear me? Leen? Can you hear me, Leen? I think we lost Leen. So we'll wait a little bit until Leen fix the problem and come back on. There we go. Again, Leen, she's back. Can you hear us, Leen?
Yes, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was saying, first off, about the men role. First off, we cannot affect people of past generations, which is obvious in our countries. We cannot affect older people, elderly. We cannot do that. But I believe men can give more space to women. I believe they can be effective fathers. They can be partners, not a competitor in the society. I believe we were born to build this earth, not to compete who builds it up. And I believe also they will have benefits from this, as so many men I know face such situations of inequality and injustice and unfairness and etc. And also a very important thing that I always call for, to put themselves in the situation of a woman. What if he faces the same thing? What if he is not allowed to do one, or to choose 1, 2, 3? So yeah.
Wonderful, thank you, Leen. At the beginning of your presentation, you defined equality. What do you see as the main fundamental or structural or legal barriers in achieving gender equality in Jordan and in Middle East and North Africa region in general?
In Jordan and the Middle East, I believe structural is in the family structure, in the society structure. In the family, there needs to be more communication and understanding. There needs to be more independency for children, as males and females. They both are not given enough independency. I don't mean by independency, a certain definition that some people may get. I mean some independency to choose something and to be responsible for this choice. Here in the Middle East, this is not implemented. It's not implemented that children choose something and be responsible for it. Parents want to choose the thing and be responsible for their children. For the society, I believe the fear of shame is a barrier, is a big barrier. Fear of being judged, fear of people talking about me in a certain way, for women and men actually. In the West, I believe, I haven't thought about this before because I'm searching in my area, but I believe that fear of shame is there. Yes, and communication is there, is a barrier. I believe sometimes adults or teenagers think that their family or their culture doesn't get what they have in mind.
Okay, thank you, Leen. My last question for you is, what kind of initiatives do you think are needed to reach across generational lines and to change perceptions about gender equality?
I think it's one thing, which is basically forgetting about the past generations. We cannot change the way parents raise their children, so we will still have this forever, because there are people who are now raising their children on this, and then these people will raise their children on this, and etc. But we can create more movements and awarenesses. But for these past generations, there are people who are not willing to listen to the new thoughts and to listen to what is being up in the world. And there are people who, when we discuss this with them and show our opinion to them, they disagree and then say their opinion and stop the conversation, because that is the way that life is for them. So I believe we should, the way to reach the generations is forgetting about the past people, forgetting our culture and the stereotypes, and forgetting the traditions that we are not convinced by. And I believe freedom is important. Leaving each one to choose what he wants is important in a certain, borderline.
Okay, thank you, Leen. We're gonna move now and take your questions. We still have around 20 minutes, so we're gonna move and take some questions from the audience. We have a question here. What sort of education and community engagement might help to address gender gap within families? Are these changes happening already? Are you hopeful for the future, given the surveys you conducted?
I can't see the question and I didn't hear you.
Okay. What sort of education and community engagement might help to address gender gap within families?
I believe schools. Educationally, schools are very important in raising this in children's minds. community engagement through, I believe, through the series that we make, the movies and the industry of filmmaking that we make. It affects actually a child's mind when he's growing up. So injecting the idea of that both genders have the same value, you and your sister can do the same thing and cannot do the same thing, not because of you being this type of gender you can and she cannot, or he cannot. So I believe everybody should be taught to have the chance to do everything.
So are you hopeful for the future, given the surveys you conducted, the presentation, the survey, the data that you show us?
I am. If people are listening, I am. You know, when I discuss my ideas and my people's ideas, my group's ideas with different people, some of they agree and some disagree. But I believe that I can convince them by the idea of, if you put yourself in my situation, if I'm facing, you know, the situation, whatever.
I have another question for you. Who are some women leaders from the region you are admire? Might be from Jordan or from
From Jordan, I believe the Queen Rania herself, the one and only. She's amazing. She's a great example of leadership. She's an amazing manager of a country, let's say. And I saw so many of her charity works, of her interviews, the way she thinks, the way she raises her children, the way she implements rules into the society. I love what she believes in.
What type of important work in gender equality do you think is missing?
I didn't understand the question.
What type of important work in gender equality do you think is missing in Jordan, in your country?
Important work of gender equality. I think there's nothing, to be honest. Women do everything here, except for, you know, driving a truck or driving a boat or whatever. Mm-hmm. But men and women here can work in anything.
Yeah, I have another question. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. In your opinion, how does gender intersect with the other topic discussed in this summit, like detention, refugees, and etc.? Yeah.
It does intersect in a huge way. For example, with the refugee rights and refugee situations, of course, because women are linked with weaknesses, so they are treated in a bad way when they are refugees, which is not okay. Again, in this, what's the other topic? It was refugees and
detentions, like prisoners, and also
yes, of course. I believe in prison or such places. I've seen it in movies and in other. I've heard stories that women can be treated in a more strict kind of society. So they're chocked kind of everywhere, whether being in their society or a refugee or in prison or wherever.
I have another question for you, Leen. How can women use social media to advocate for equality? I think how in Jordan, how they're using social media in Jordan to help the cause, to advocate for their rights?
For the first question, which is how do they take advantage of social media? I believe the mature kind of convincing is important. It's not only that we want to call for equality and freedom and we're not given rights and etc. No, it's more of a mature way of you know, saying an idea and convincing the other people. And if they don't want to be convinced, that's okay. We're not made for each other's minds, and we're not made to be convinced by each other's ideas. I say what I have in mind, and you're okay, and I'm open if you agree or not. We should be open more to accepting different ideas on social media. So I believe social media would be a great platform to share ideas in a mature and etiquette way. For in Jordan, there are movements and pages on Instagram, for example, that call for such a thing and that shares so many posts, and they have more than 150K. They share situations of women and empowerment and strong, work life and etc.
One more question for you, Leen. What steps should women and women's rights activists take to challenge inequality locally, nationally, and regionally?
Please repeat the first part of the question.
What steps should women and women's rights activists take to challenge inequality locally in Jordan, or nationally, and or in your and regionally? Yeah.
I believe I'll have the same question, the same answer of the previous question, but in this segment, which is activists, maturity, discussing in a mature and calm way. I believe the way of discussion is a huge characteristic of a successful ending of a discussion. If we deliver what we want in a mature, let me say in a convincing way. What do I mean by convincing? Rational, linking it to facts, to realities. It's as I mentioned during my presentation, that I know that I cannot do a certain thing, so I will tell you that I cannot do it. I just want the freedom to choose and say no, I don't want to. So again, the mature or rational way of
I think we still have 10 minutes. I have one or two more questions for you. How do you see the ideal scenarios for equality for the next 10 years?
In Jordan?
We can start with Jordan, and if you want to move and cover the...
what does the question mean by ideal scenarios?
How do you see the hope, the changes, the...
Well, aiming high, aiming very high, because actually the country is working on this so hard, and is actually, I should be honest, my country is giving women a lot of rights and work chances and the freedom of choice and etc. But the barrier is traditions and culture. So about the traditions and culture, I honestly have no idea. But I believe that so many people are becoming open about this now. Open about this, I mean open about giving women more power and more rights and more value and comparing to men. So I believe that this situation will be greater in like 5-6 years, because Jordan is working on this actually, and people are, not only the country itself.
So the changes, you feel that there is some changes coming?
Yes, I believe women will have a higher participation in politics. I don't know why, but I believe yes, a higher and more important role.
Okay, I think Leen, let me see if you have more questions. Let me see. Leen, I think, do you have any thoughts, or do you want to add anything before we end our event today, Leen? Do you want to add something? Do you have any message, anything you want to say?
Basically, we are human beings before being females or males. women aren't only important because they are their mothers, or aren't only important because they are our mothers or our sisters or our wives who will raise our children. They have the same value as men have. Why? Because if men weren't on earth, weren't there, women would build this earth. So we can exchange again this scenario and give value to both. We're not asking for giving value more to women. We're asking for giving value to both, the same value.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful. Thank you, Leen, very much. Thank you, Leen, for the wonderful presentation, and thanks to Middle East Institute scholar and Middle East Institute staff who joined us today. We're gonna end now, and thanks again. Stay safe and take care.
Thank you, Dalal, and thank you everyone who